Okay, welcome to the 7th edition of the Adventure Society Report on today, October 16th, 2014. I'm Sir Proper, Twitch.tv streamer and quasi-internet celebrity. The question today is, if you could launch via catapult / trebuchet either jello or marshmallows at your best friend, which would it be and why? Today I'm feeling like jello because Quinn is not around. Because no, just kidding. To be honest, I don't know. Like marshmallows seems like it'd be interesting. Like a whole catapult thing of marshmallows would be like raining marshmallows. That seems like it'd be interesting, to be honest. Jello, on the other hand, would have that good momentum transfer, and it just goes splat. I think that would be funny. Well, we're gonna see if Quinn at some point jumps in here. I sent him the link to join, but I don't know where he is yet. So a couple of things that we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about Shadow of Mordor, Alien Isolation, and Evil Within. We're going to at least talk about some of the new stuff. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Charmander. Very active chat today, so I'm just probably going to go ahead and talk with you all in this stream. But so Shadow of Mordor. Um, well, I haven't. I don't know if Char has a good mic. Would be one thing, but anyways, you guys keep me entertained, and we'll talk. So, Shadow of Mordor hack and slash games. You know, it's been a while since I've been playing a hack and slash game. I know Shadow of Mordor is good. It's kind of the next game I am thinking of getting. It has this cool nemesis system. I think in some ways one of the coolest ideas in a while, where um, when you die, instead of just like game over, you suck, it actually has, impacts on your further gameplay, which is something I think that's actually a really important innovation in a lot of ways. I mean, I don't know if it's been done before, so I don't want to say like first time ever, but to be honest, I think, well, joystick says it's revolutionary, so that's a thing. I really think that it's something that we need to see, the kind of innovation that we're needing to see in games. Something where um, we're taking a mechanic that we're familiar with, dying, because that is a mechanic. Obviously, if in any game you can perish, dying is a mechanic. Like in Dark Souls, it's an active mechanic where in Demon Souls, if you died, it had an effect on the environment, not to as great extent as like Shadow of Mordor. Um, it has a very interesting engagement with that. Now, as far as Blazy brings up, yeah, it's not stealth or like a just all-out hack and slash fest. There's some interesting components of both. I've seen some of the gameplay. I've yet to play it yet, but like I said, it is a game that I am definitely looking forward to getting. I'm just gonna go ahead and open up an apple ale here. Not a product placement because I'm not saying the brand. Mm. I wouldn't say Shadow of Mordor is similar to Assassin's Creed. I mean, it has some combat, it has some stealth aspects, but I don't think it really, you could say it's that similar. I mean, it's hack and slash. Assassin's Creed's always, well, it has some range moments, I just think the core engagement mechanic is not similar enough to Assassin's Creed to say that it's similar to Assassin's Creed, but it does share some parity, some similarities, and I think most likely if you like Assassin's Creed, you'll probably like Shadow of Mordor, at least from the gameplay I've seen. I strongly recommend checking out Node Gaming. I wish they sponsored me, but they don't. Node Gaming, they do LAN parties and stuff, and they did Shadow of Mordor, and there was a very interesting mechanic of stealth engagement with the environment, but at the same time, you could just go up and straight fight. So that's kind of cool. But other things that are interesting about the game so far, let's go to Metacritic. I like Metacritic not so much for the value that people assign to things, but for the fact that it's interesting to see kind of what people are commenting on things. Because it tells a lot about perspective and what the game's offering, whether or not it's a valid response. Like, you go into Metacritic and almost every critic review, 61 positive critic reviews, 6 mixed, at least on the PlayStation 4 side, although usually they don't value, whatnot. But over here on the user review side, it only has an 8.3. And it's got 14 mixed and 20 negative, which means there's something interesting that the average critic is somehow bypassing, not acknowledging. So we're talking about some people are commenting that there are bugs in the game. Someone does say it's a poor Assassin's Creed ripoff. Ooh, camera is bad. Wow, super small sight cones. That's interesting, and I'm surprised that more critics, more of the professional critics don't. Not necessarily acknowledging, especially the ones that are like, "Bah, amazing." Now, I'm not saying that's a bad game. Hack and slash is always fun in my opinion. So far from what I've heard from personal reviews from friends and such, they say it's worth it. And if you like the hack and slash genre, from what I've been seeing so far, it's definitely for those who love the hack and slash genre. And the gameplay that I've seen's got me interested. I'm a fan of the hack and slash, which is why Destiny, I love the Relic so much. The Relic and the Sword of Crota is because it kind of gets me back to that hack and slash. If the pod if this pod goes over an hour, I'm not planning on going over an hour when it's just by myself. But hey. Blazy puts in on the Twitch streaming side of this that he's going to be playing hockey, and if this podcast goes over an hour, he'll be here. For those viewing on YouTube, since I'm mostly talking to myself, I apologize for the disconnects. I'll try and read the comments so that we have some context for the future. And if this does happen again, I would love to use chat. Okay, so things. Shadow of Mordor. Well, Charmander puts in chat here. You got me to chat with. I never know what the emoticons mean half the time on Twitch, so that one's kind of moot to me. But totally, Charmander is here. He is rocking the chat. Happy to have him. Black Hollow's also in the house, although he's pretty quiet. I don't know why he's quiet, but all right. So Shadow of Mordor. Is it worth it? So far, Metacritic seems to state yes. The gameplay that I've seen says yes. I think it's got some innovative, interesting game mechanics. So I think it's worth at least checking out. Maybe if you're just in the mood to rent it first. I know I will eventually be buying it. I know I've had some fairly recent generous donations, and I'm to the point where I could pick that up. I think it's kind of a toss up. Do I take my donations / tips and just save them for the rainy day, or do I go ahead and use them to continue to help build the channel. Apparently, Charmander likes emoticons. He's over here spamming the channel. People on YouTube. I thought I should put that out there because he says also even if I did spam, people on YouTube won't notice. That's a thing. So I thought I should inform you. Charmander 702. I love it when he is in the house. Not sure why he's not always on the channel. He should be. So moving right on, let's talk about the nature of streaming. To be honest, I have a lot of people that, oh, you can make money via streaming. How do you even do that? Is usually followed with some person immediately going, hey, I'm live on my channel over here. Um, you should come check me out in the middle of someone else's stream. Which, to be honest, that's I don't know. I don't know why that happens so often. I mean, I guess it's expected. People want to make money. I don't know really. I'll put this out there right now. Twitch streaming is not necessarily super lucrative, especially at the beginning, unless you're doing stuff to. I would almost say unless you're paying for it, and for someone like me who just has time, it's a time investment, really. Um, I mean, I put hours and hours and hours in, and to be honest, if I don't put in the hours on propagating the social aspects of it, like uh, Twitter, um, YouTube, stuff like that, I find that I do a lot worse than if I'm not doing those things. So to be honest, it's kind of running a grassroots political campaign. If somebody wants a comparison, um, it's a lot of hours. No one really pays you at first until you hit um, until you hit Twitch partner status. It's just a lot of hours. Or you do giveaways and stuff like that, and build a totally shallow audience, which dries up as soon as you stop providing the freebies and whatnot. Also, if someone randomly acknowledges your channel, like Bungie, you can expect a instant turnover, like almost instantaneously. But that's enough about that. Also, it's considered really low within the Twitch community to advertise your stuff in someone else's Twitch channel unless they give you the okay. And usually it's not for conflicting time spots. So moving on to Alien Isolation, now that we kind of talked about that. Alien Isolation. Um, an interesting thing that I'm kind of questioning the motivations on Alien Isolation is that um, during I think it was E3, yeah, it was E3. They showed Alien Isolation being played using the Oculus. That's a VR system that's got bought by Facebook. It's kind of trying to push virtual reality, although Sony is doing its own work. But when Alien Isolation came out, um, um, when Alien Isolation actually launched, there was absolutely no support for it. And granted, Oculus users aren't a big base, but you have to cater to the early adopters, and I think that's a important demographic that was really missed. Because from what Node Gaming and stuff was saying, the Oculus was what made the game that much more. I'm not sure if they run into technical issues or something else and just cut it, but it's weird to advertise it and then not make it there. Especially it'd be different if it was like one game mode or something that wasn't included, or maybe like a little side mission that or a mock-up. That happens at E3 all the time. But not having something that they showcased as a step forward, an innovation, really, an innovation, and then just cutting it out, that feels like a really bad move, especially for the gaming industry. No one wants to see innovation hit the cutting room floor, and I think that's one place that we shouldn't scrimp. In the gaming industry, money should be paid to continue pursuing innovation. Charmander asks in on the Twitch stream here, I know that you haven't played Shadow of Mordor, Sir Proper, but do you recommend people playing with a keyboard or controller? Let me take a drink here while I ponder that. To be honest, I think it's more preference. If you're familiar with keyboards, that's fine, but with the ability to plug controllers in, if you primarily play on controller and you pick it up for PC for whatever reason, I say use what you're most comfortable with. I'm to the point where I prefer controllers. I know people complain about latency and interaction time, especially with FPSs on controllers. And in some cases, I notice issues when I'm playing Destiny. Like, they do have a bit of an auto aim function, and it's not overwhelming like it's a Snap 2 or anything like that, like a quick scope Snap 2. But there are times when you're aiming and like a head will drift through your crosshairs and it pulls your reticle off the target that you're aiming at, but then it, since the enemy's moving too fast, it just kind of leaves the crosshair just pulled off your target, not like it's following another enemy or something. So, um, depending on interactions, most hack and slashes I say are generally better on controllers unless they're trying to do too much. And I don't know what the control scheme is like, but overly complicated control schemes are never good for controllers. Although overly complicated control schemes on the computer that can be simpler on the controller, you know, I've seen, like, for instance, Dark Souls on the keyboard was absolutely terrible. Could not stand to play Dark Souls with a keyboard. Tried it for like 5 minutes and said nope. So yeah, back to Alien Isolation. First off, it's Alien franchise. That's gonna earn it some nostalgia bonus. Let's actually take a look at Metacritic and see what some people are saying about Alien Isolation. But I mean, are people really that much into horror? Like, I never really understand why horror, survival horror, all of that has had the engagement that it has. To me, like, they always use mechanics that I don't agree with. Now, this is super interesting here. Wow. Um, Interesting. We got here on critic reviews, we have 29 positive, 9 mixed, and 1 negative. It's a first-person survival horror, for those that didn't know, and it's supposed to apparently capture the fear and tension evoked by Ridley Scott's 1979 classic film. Players find themselves in an atmosphere of constant dread and mortal danger as an unpredictable, ruthless xenomorph is stalking and killing deep in the shadows. Underpowered and underprepared, you must scavenge resources, improvise solutions, and use your wits. Not just to succeed in your mission, but to simply stay alive. Wow. Now, the question is, does the gameplay actually capitalize on it? From what I've seen so far, no. Um, Although I'm seeing a couple of reviews here that it is apparently a harrowing and unnerving survival horror experience. So I don't really know where to place that. But from what I understand, most survival horror games can rely on starvation mechanics, um, and other things where resource starving and whatnot. From what I understand, I haven't seen that in the gameplay so far. I've seen of Alien Isolation, so maybe it does a better job. Apparently, the Critics seem to think so, although I'm really just surprised at how many user reviews just aren't there. Normally, you see a lot more user reviews, like for Shadow Mortar, there was 155. For Alien Isolation, I'm seeing 47 for the positive, 2 for the mixed, and 4 for the negative. We'll see. Yeah, and for the PC, there's 149 user reviews, 16 mixed, 15 positive, or 15 negative. So, it apparently scores a little bit higher on the PC than it does on the PS4. Let's look at Xbox. Wow. Apparently, Xbox, no one gives an F. Only 26 positive, 4 mixed, 2 negative on the user reviews. And for the critics, it is 11 positive, 5 mixed, negative 0. That's really interesting, the disparity between the consoles. Why Xbox as an audience just doesn't give an F about Alien Isolation. So, I mean, I know that Node Gaming was using the computer with wired Xbox controllers, but I don't know. That's interesting. I haven't played Dark Souls 2. Charmander says I heard DS2 controls on keyboard were better, and there's a bit of apparently chagrin there. I'm not certain on that because I haven't played Dark Souls 2, but I know that Dark Souls, being a hack and slash, tends to be a little bit easier to execute with via controller, um, which is why Dark Souls, well, Demon Souls especially, was originally console only. So it's interesting. This kind of brings up with the lack of scores and the way it's scored. It really seems like I know, yes, less people have bought the Xbox One compared to the PS4 at this point, but um, you know, to see such a disparity in numbers, I don't really think this actually has to do with console numbers. I think this actually has to do with demographics of a console. Um, I would Someone once called the PS4 the indie station, even though there's been obviously more indie games on the Xbox more recently than was on. There was more indie games being put on the Xbox sooner than the PS4 or PS3 even. Xbox 360 had a fairly large indie gathering, but for whatever reason, Alien Isolation is just not maybe hitting well with the Xbox crowd. I'm not certain of that. It'd be interesting to, I don't know, see the kind of numbers on that, whether it's along console number lines or whether it's simply um or whether it just has something to do with um demographics, who's buying the console. It's I'm tempted to get into some kind of racial profiling here just because one of my minors is communication. One of the last classes I took was intro to intercultural communication, um, and we don't necessarily respect how different the kind of intercultural perspective shift can be. And we have like social media and stuff like that that make jokes about white people do crazy stupid stuff, like they're thrill seekers and stuff like that. Whereas, and I really apologize for stepping on racial toes here, but to be honest, I think it's more talking about categorizations. But there's so many kind of comedic portrayals of black people almost running away from anything that's potentially like horror or straight up thrill seeking or horror related. It'd be interesting to see how those demographics pair out, whether whether falls into the category of stereotypes or there for a reason, or if it's really just one of those weird demographic oddities of this group that plays Xbox doesn't care for horror games. I've been seeing a lot of people on the PS4 streaming horror games. Admittedly, a lot of them are white, so I don't know what that speaks to the demographics or what the cultural bias is there, but it's an interesting thing to think about. Um, I know during the life of the Xbox 360, the Xbox 360 for whatever reason had kind of a almost notoriety for um, a black demographic. Like that's first person shooters, Twitch gaming. There was a lot of that. There was also, of course, the whiny, angry white kids, and, like going on ragers because their mom takes their Xbox away. Charmander, that's an interesting question. How does the color of skin affect what games you play? Um, it's not that the color of skin affects what games you play. It's about cultural biases. People in different communities are raised different ways. They have different perspectives. It doesn't really have to do anything with their skin color affecting it. We just happen to see skin color within different cultural biases. I'm not saying it's anything racially motivated, but it is cultural perspective. I know that me as a middle America white person with semi-religious parents has a different culture perspective than a black person that was raised inner city or not, but with overly strict parents, or even parents that were working all the time, not necessarily there. There's, as it's said in when you start getting into cultural studies as far as communication goes, there's a saying that stereotypes exist for a reason. And I mean that's obviously used elsewhere, but um, it's about cultural bias, not so much the color differentiation. But we have to understand that cultural bias isn't just along skin tones as well. Like there are different cultural biases within even the black community. Like a religious black family versus a non-religious black family are going to have different cultural biases because they're going to engage with different cultural stereotypes and understandings and perspectives. So, um, yeah, it's one of those things. But we see these interesting. It's it draws these lines in the sand that you can in a lot of ways see, but to a stereotype or assume, I think is where we come into a failure. It's really hard to, if you were just to jump in there and say, this is why that is, or this is why this person is that way, I think that's going a bit too far. When it comes right down to it, mindfulness is required with cultural communication, which is for me as more of a almost scientific perspective. I'm just interested in why people respond to things the way they do. Whether it's based on, pure cultural analysis, people's perception of other skin colors and whatnot. But even if you look at like the presentation of vines or what's on YouTube and stuff like that, you see a lot of cultural biases based on area demographic. Like California has a much different cultural bias than say Oregon or New York. And so you're seeing different things and different stereotypes present in different areas. So so Implexity is in the channel here, and he's saying stereotype city, here I come. Black equals GTA 5. Asian, StarCraft, Dota, or League of Legends. White equals GPS or sport games. FPS, I'm guessing you meant instead of GPS. GPS! Them white people play that GPS like it's a game. um, it's really weird that we have these cultural lines and biases that we draw, and I'm wondering if that is why we're seeing that kind of spread on Alien Isolation. Now, the last game that we're going to talk about today is Evil Within. Two survival games in one episode. What am I going to do? I don't know. Evil Within Metacritic. Let's check these numbers. So we got 62 user reviews for positive, 12 for mixed, 18 for negative. 329 ratings so far on the user score. Let's check for PC. 187. Whoa, 26 negative on PC. Apparently. Wow. Wow. Apparently the port of the game Evil Within to PC is bad. Bad. Seeing there's only 136 total ratings of the Evil Within on Xbox One. Again, 18 positive, 1 mixed, 3 negative. That's interesting. So again, we're seeing these. Oh, here we go. 360 reviews. Let's see. 54 ratings on the 360. Wow. Wow. Yeah, I don't even know what to say to that. That's quite clearly those same lines are being drawn. A lot of survival horror for the PlayStation 4. Let's see, 650 total reviews for Alien Isolation, or scorings. See, PlayStation 4, 209 total scorings, 132. PC was apparently Alien Isolation, 45 for the PS3. Checking some demographics here, 43. So still more PlayStation. It's really interesting. Wow. So chat just blew up. Apparently Charmander and Implexity are having a spam off. Implexity, no, I haven't talked about the new Borderlands, although as much as I'm not ready to buy another FPS RPG, Borderlands pre-sequel looks pretty good. Not gonna lie. I love the Borderlands series. If you didn't love Zero for number 2, I feel sad for you. Chain melee stealth build. That's what it was all about. But yeah, to be honest, it's really interesting to see these lines drawn, so to speak, with the survival horror genre. A lot of PS4 users apparently into survival horror, whereas the Xbox not so much. Oh, now they're spamming me about the importance of their spam. It's a spam off, but it's a good spam off. I mean, yeah, I guess I can argue that you guys are being helpful and in valuable resource to the community. Yeah, so Borderlands pre-sequel. There's some promise of backstory, trying to paint Handsome Jack as, is he the good guy or is he the bad guy anymore? It's kind of the downfall of Jack. But we're supposed to be left wondering, about the ambiguity / morality of the engagement. Which, if you really think about Borderlands, it's always been ambiguously slated as far as morality. I mean, these vault hunters are out just murdering people, and yeah, psychos and whatnot seem to be totally unreasonable. But that's from the eyes of the perspective of people that are willing to shoot first, steal everything, and never ask questions. I don't. I don't know. Um, it's an interesting kind of look at the Borderlands series. I definitely like the character mechanics. I've been keeping up on like some of the character profiles and what they have as far as builds in this one, and I'm definitely interested to see how the gameplay of those is really played out. And Plexi said heard the previous sequel, or the pre-sequel in this case, kind of doesn't make it many changes. I heard it's kind of more of the same. As far as gameplay, the objectives are still the same from what I understand, but pet imps. I'll get to that in a second. But really, what it comes down to it's not really selling innovation. It's selling another chunk of the story, some new gameplay as far as mechanics wise, like character mechanics, not necessarily story mechanics. We're not having a lot of that. But it's interesting because we have a Handsome Jack here as what I would refer to as a narrative villain rather than a mechanic villain. So um I think I still think it's a valid offering as far as games are concerned, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's the most innovative thing out there. I would say Destiny and Shadow of Mordor are doing more innovative things in interesting ways. Um, so the chat just Char asked me a question and it said, "What yo fave anima?" And Implexity interpreted that as favorite animal, and he said pet imps, which that was actually a running joke back when Implexity was first joined in the channel before he got the ban. He got banned for a little while, but um, anime though, favorite anime. I don't have a favorite anime. Some good ones that I've been recently watching though. Let me pull up my list of things I've been watching. Sword Art Online Season 2. It's totally starting. You can totally check out Sword Art Online Season 2. I check it out at annielinks.com. That's all I'm telling you. I'm not. Psychopaths was good. Uh, as far as psychological action, Log Horizon just started its season 2, which I'm excited about. Well, the first couple of episodes were a little confusing. Not sure what was going on there. Maho Senso was okay. Watched a bit of it. Mahoka Koka no Retsui, also known as an irregular at Magic High School, was very cool. Although it was a very OP protagonist, some people don't like that. I thought it was good. There is, let's see, Wizard Barristers was pretty good. There was one couple of other ones. There was one with a really ridiculously long title that I think is one of my favorites. I can't think of the name right now. It's like the English title is "The Troubled Children Are Coming from Another World, Aren't They?" I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So yeah, anime. I do enjoy. No, I'm not using Comcast. But Implexity might. Attack on Titan. Oh, I've watched Attack on Titan, and I am caught up on the manga as well. I think both of those are fantastic, great story, interesting universe. There's actually a fan-based made Attack on Titan game that's really kind of fun. It's a little chibi and The graphics aren't like super fantastic, but it's pretty cool. No, Ebola, be smart. Don't go to Africa right now or in areas affected by Ebola. If you go to Africa or coming from Africa, be smart. Don't be stupid about that. Um, we should just nerf Ebola. Wow. Complexity. I don't know what to say to that. But I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here the Adventure Society report with kind of the takeaway from today is having a co-host makes this so much easier. So shout out to co-hosts. Then let's no, my takeaway from today is that it's interesting to see the kind of cross divide on platforms regarding survival horror. It's great to see some innovations still happening in the game world. That's fantastic. Shadow of Mordor. I'm excited to play that. What I was told by one of my mods is that the Nemesis system is really cool, and that there's apparently a lot of side stuff to do. So if you like those quests like Skyrim and stuff, you'll probably apparently like Shadow of Mordor. Because as a core engagement, a lot of the people that playing Skyrim love that kind of side quest stuff. You know, the things that flesh out the world, things to do. Um, Lastly, I still don't care about survival horror, so screw that. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it for the takeaway. Um, what I'm doing for this week, definitely going to be playing some more Destiny. Destiny. That will be a thing. Um, I'm still trying to get one of my friends over here for a raging good time of Diablo 3 while drinking. We're planning on having a drinking game where basically we're going to be playing hardcore characters and we cannot vitality stack. No vitality stacking whatsoever. So basically glass cannon builds only. Doesn't mean you can't use, like teleports and stuff like that to try and get away, but no no built-in stacking health mechanic kind of thing. Life per second will probably be allowed, but then basically it's a shot every time our characters die and we have to re-roll. So that sounds like it's going to be fun. I'm hoping to get him over in the next week or so. He has kind of a busy schedule. Still working on that, but I am planning on playing some Diablo 3 this week. I've talked to both Quinn and Dave, and most likely we will get in some Diablo time. Have a group together, do the Diablo thing. Right now, though, at the end of the podcast here, I'm going to be taking about a 15-minute break to get food, and then I will be streaming live on Destiny. So you can find me on Google, obviously at Sir Proper. Actually, I think is it Sir Proper Gent? I'm never certain of that. Let's see. Or is it just Sir Proper? I don't even know my own thing anymore. It's just Sir Proper. Yeah, that's right. YouTube is Sir Proper Gent though. And my Twitch is Sir Proper. So if you're catching this on YouTube, you can check out the stream at Sir Proper on Twitch.tv. I do have an Imager account that is of the same. You know what? I'm just going to be smart here and just pop up my information, so I'm reading it off instead of trying to remember everything. So Twitter is Sir Proper Gent, YouTube is Sir Proper Gent, Facebook is Sir Proper, sirtheproper.imager.com for pictures. I am trying to get around to getting my exotics and stuff listed up there. You can find me on Bungie.net at sirtheproper as well. and on Steam, Sir Proper. I also have a Reddit, also Sir Proper, and yeah. So those are all different ways that you can get a hold of me or participate. The next podcast will be Thursday. Usually we like to get the podcast going by 11:30, but I've been sick, and so I was a little bit slow getting up this morning and whatnot, and didn't get started right away. And normally we have a co-host, so but interaction with the Twitch stream during the broadcast is always a fun thing. So goodbye, adventure well, be classy, treat others well with dignity and respect, and adventurers explore the wilderness. Thank you for listening, and have a good day, night, and afternoon.